Hey y'all! Pokemon Crystal using only one Gligar was scary mediocre, so let's continue this week with another Halloween-themed Pokemon. This week, I'm going to try to beat Pokemon Crystal using only one Misdreavus. As usual, the rules are I can only use Misdreavus in battle, and I can't use any trainer items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Misdreavus is best known both for being on fleek and also for being the pre-evolved form of Misdreavus. It first appeared in the Pokemon anime under the ownership of Nelson, a trainer obsessed with catching the legendary dog Entei. Nelson had hoped to use Mean Look to prevent Entei from fleeing, but Entei just used Roar to escape the battle anyways. And wow, I can really relate to that pain. As for the stats and move pool, Misdreavus might be bad and bougie, but the move pool is sad and booty. We're limited to basically Ghost, Psychic, Electric, and Normal, and most of the best moves that we get, we can't access until much later in the game. Stats are alright, but the limited move pool early on is going to make the beginning of this run really tough. Alright, let's give 'em pumpkin to talk about. Off at Professor Elm's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Cyndaquil with Misdreavus so that a rival will pick the Water-type Totodile. Misdreavus is weak to Dark, and Bubs' Croconaw and Feraligatr will both know Bite, so it should be the most difficult for us to handle. Misdreavus is a ghostly Pokemon with a fashionable red pearl necklace and a glamorous hairdo, so I nickname ours Banchic. Misdreavus starts off with only Psywave and Growl. And Growl isn't that helpful, and Psywave does random amounts of damage, ranging from 1 HP to 1.5 times the user's level. And what's even worse is that Psywave is only 80% accurate, so it's incredibly frustrating and unreliable. But it's called Psycho Wave in Japanese, and that's awesome! After beating Bubs, I head straight to the Violet City Gym to take on the Flying-type gym leader, Faulkner. I tried fighting him with Psywave, and oh my god, was that a bad idea. I can't learn any other moves, but what I can do is waste all of my BP and instead fight Faulkner's Flying Freaks with Struggle. It's a 50 base power typeless move that deals 25% of the damage that it does as recoil to the user. And recoil damage is unpleasant, but it's a lot better than using Psywave. It's just like the old saying though, the struggle is real. After defeating Faulkner, I head to Azalea Town to take on Bugsy the Bug-type gym leader. Along the way, I pick up the TM for Swift in Union Cave, which is a huge improvement for Misdreavus. It's not a super strong move, but the thought of not having to fight with Struggle anymore is irresistible. As for Bugsy himself, he was actually pretty easy. His Kakuna and Metapod don't do anything to Misdreavus, and we resist Fury Cutter from Scyther. That's right, Ghost resists Bug. I don't know why, but everybody always seems to forget about that type matchup. Thanks to our new move, though, we swiftly win the battle. After beating Bugsy, I have to take on the rival Bubs once again, and this battle was dreadful! Yeah, and it's all because of the Ghastly. The only attack we have to hit the Ghastly is Psywave, so no need to explain how bad that is. Plus, the struggle strategy is not feasible because Bubs has 3 Pokemon, meaning we faint to recoil damage before we can win. And what's even worse is that Psywave only has 15 BP, and Ghastly reduces that even further using the move Spite. So I have to alternate between Confuse Ray and my own Spite just to keep enough BP to maximize our chances of knocking out Ghastly with Psywave. And that's right, you can run out of Psywave and then immediately lose the battle. So, you know the drill, this took forever, I hate everything, and I don't want to talk about it. Just take a deep breath, Andrew. Maybe get a pumpkin spice latte, relax, you know, trick or treat yourself. And next up is the Goldenrod City Gym and the battle with Whitney's Miltank. And this battle is so tough, and I don't know, I can't help but start to feel like I've made a horrible mistake by trying to do a Misdreavus challenge. Something comes up in this battle that I hardly ever get to showcase though. Miltank cannot hit Misdreavus with Stomp, and we can interrupt Rollout with Confuse Ray, but Miltank can interrupt my Soul with Attract, which makes the chance to successfully attack each turn only 50%. Furthermore, Attract only works because Misdreavus is a guy, so I guess really we should be calling it Mr. Dreavus. Attract is only half the insanity though, because don't forget, Miltank has Milk Drink. So even when we manage to dodge Attract using Confuse Ray, we still have to contend with Rollout and Miltank constantly healing just before we knock it out. So I'm pretty much just trying to get lucky with Confuse Ray and time things ever so perfectly so that Miltank hits itself in confusion as I knock it out with Swift. So, what have we learned? Our Misdreavus might be male, but it's still a hollow queen. By the time I reach the rival Bubs in the Burnt Tower in Ecruteak City, Misdreavus has finally learned a good move. At level 27, we learned Psybeam, and oh boy, is that a quality of life improvement! It's still not quite strong enough to knock out the Haunter before it can use Curse, but one little victory at a time. I get pretty far into the battle before the Curse damage takes its toll though. And I try this battle a few more times, and eventually our Psybeam actually knocks out the Haunter in one hit. Turns out it was a damage roll all along. Huzzah! Without the extra damage from Curse racking up each turn, Misdreavus is actually kind of a powerhouse with Psybeam, and it's not even same type attack boosted, so that's pretty cool. With this one move, it feels like the whole tone of the run has completely changed for the better. I'm absolutely Psybeaming, and once we get Morty's TM, I'll be having myself a Shadow Ball. Speaking of Morty, next up is the Spectral Showdown with his gang of ghoulish ghosts in the Ecruteak City gym. Morty's part Poison Poltergeist are all weak to Psybeam, and Misdreavus slaps those ghosts around harder than Ghostbusters 2016 got hate. Even when the Gengar survives, it misses Hypnosis and gets wrecked for its troubles. And with this win, Morty gives us that sweet Shadow Ball TM, the strongest ghost move in the game. With the combination of our two new moves, I'm feeling ghoul as hell. But hey, it ain't my fault that I'm out here feeling loose. Gotta blame it on the Beetlejuice, baby. Alright, that one hurt me to say. And now that we can finally use Surf outside of battle, I set sail from Olivine City and head to the Cianwood City Gym to take on the Fighting-type gym leader Chuck. And it's crazy how quickly things in this game have taken a turn for the better. The first part of this game with Misdreavus was so bad that I had to beat regular trainers using Struggle for crap's sake, but now that Misdreavus has two good moves, these gym leaders can get Rectoplasm. After beating Chuck, I had to take on Price, the Ice-type gym leader in Mahogany Town. We used the Fly TM that we got from Chuck's wife to get here quickly, and can I just say, it is such a shame that Misdreavus can't learn Fly. And I know, it's a ghost type and not flying, but it's also a witch and therefore should be able to fly around using a broom, or as I like to call it, making a clean getaway. And by the time we get through all the Team Rocket Lake of Rage shenanigans, we're like level 40, and by that point, there's just no stopping Misdreavus. It's pretty crazy, honestly. And also along the way, we learned the move Pain Split. It's a very unique move that changes the HPs of the user and the target to the average of their current HP totals. So, if our health is lower, it deals them damage while healing us in the process. And this move is aided by the fact that Misdreavus has a decently low HP stat to begin with, dealing them more damage as a consequence. And now there's nothing left to do to progress the story besides defeat Jasmine, the Steel-type gym leader. And I'm just gonna creep it real with y'all, this battle was excruciating. She's really tough and completely takes the wind out of my sails, which is unfortunate because we were making such good progress. But her steel Pokemon resists Psybeam, and there's just no way to avoid taking multiple Thunder Waves or Thunderbolts from the Magnemites. And even if I manage to make it to the Steelix, which I often don't, it doesn't end well. Why? Because Iron Tail schmacks. There is something I can do about it though. I replaced Pain Split with Shadow Ball, which is still resisted by Jasmine's Steel types, and also based off of our lower attack stat, but it's actually stronger than Psybeam thanks to the same type attack boost for being a ghost move. I held off on teaching Shadow Ball because I've enjoyed using Pain Split, and I absolutely need Swift to deal with Dark types. But even so, this battle is still really bad. I gave Misdreavus a Paralyzed Cure Berry to help with the whole Thunder Wave thingy, and the Steelix takes less damage from Shadow Ball than the Magnemites, because, of course, ghost moves are physical in this game, and Steelix's defense is just so high. But there is an upside to using Shadow Ball, because it has a 10% chance to lower the target's special defense stat by one stage. Kinda weird how physical attack lowers special defense, but alright. Still, with a couple of special defense drops, Psybeam will actually start doing some decent damage and make this whole process much easier. But still, the chances of that happening are very low. So realistically, it's just wishful thinking. Still, it's our best bet, but this strategy is painstaking, and I lose kind of a lot. Why do you ask? Oh yeah, that's because we're a putsy little poltergeist, and Jasmine has a steel behemoth. Irontail just does so much damage. And this is all even while very sheepishly abusing Confuse Ray to try whatever I can to finally win this stupid battle. I cannot emphasize just how relieved I was to finally be done with this. I actually jumped out of my seat. This gym badge flipped the run on its head once again. It started awful, then it became incredible, only for this battle to completely undercut all of our progress. What an absolute tragedy. Kinda like Romeo and Juliet. Well, Jasmine made Misdreavus cry, so we reapply our mascara, fix our do with a little bit of scare spray, and then we take on the rival Bubs in the basement underground during the Team Rocket Radio Tower anime arc. And by the time we get here, we're already level 48, and now that we have good coverage moves, we make very short work of Bubs' team. And even after getting paralyzed, there's no stopping the Scream Train. At the end of the battle, it comes down to Haunter versus Misdreavus, both using Shadow Ball. And I'm happy to say that after bashing our balls together,
we're able to win!
Now it's time for the final Johto gym leader, Claire the Dragon-type trainer. By the time we get here, we're at level 53, which is not only one of those magical extra damage rounding numbers that I love so much, but it's pretty high for this point in the game. With the spell tag that I acquired within this here Blackthorn City equipped to Misdreavus, our Shadow Ball is boosted by 10%, which makes all of her Dragonairs just barely a one-hit knockout. This is great for not having to deal with Thunder Waves, and not even her Kingdra's smokescreen can prevent this first try victory. Wow, I expected Misdreavus to fare well, but winning on the first try is honestly unbelievable. Yep. Before the Elite Four, we traverse Victory Road to take on our rival Bubs one last time. At this point though, his team can't hold a black flame candle to our Misdreavus. We easily tear through his team faster than I tear through bags of candy corn. And that's right, haters, I'm Team Candy Corn. It's crazy to think that back in Azalea Town, Bubs was one of the hardest battles we had in this challenge run, but now he's just a dried up old prune. At least Bubs has grown from the beginning of the run. He's no longer cruel to his Pokemon, and he has finally learned to care for and appreciate his team. Hashtag Squad Ghouls. Here are the stats and moves at the Elite Four. Misdreavus is level 57, and while we don't have a ton of coverage options, the moveset will actually be pretty good versus most of the Elite Four. Speaking of type advantages, up first is the Psychic type Elite Four member Will. With our spell tag boosted Shadow Ball, Misdreavus is able to 1-hit KO every single one of Will's Pokemon. Woo, baby! That's absolutely crazy, especially when I think back to beating Falconer with struggle. With how easy this battle was, I'm beginning to have high caspirations for the rest of the Elite Four. Next up is Koga, the Poison and Bug type Elite Four member. We wrecked Will so hard we don't even have to heal before heading straight into the battle. The type coverage continues to be our friend here. All of Koga's Pokemon are weak to Psybeam, except for Forretress, and even if they survive and spam evasion moves, we can pick them off using Swift, which cannot miss. Truly, this is a match made in heaven. Or hell, depending upon your spooky sensibilities. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member Bruno. Oh hey, remember how Psybeam was good against Koga? Yeah, well, it's good against Bruno too. I call that deja vu. Our Ghost typing makes us immune to his Fighting type moves, but there's actually a really cool twist to this battle. Bruno's Hitmonlee uses a move called Foresight, which identifies Misdreavus for the rest of the battle. This means that accuracy checks no longer matter while attacking it, but more importantly, it means that it can now be hit by normal and fighting moves. Bet you didn't know that little tidbit either, huh? I mean, doesn't change the outcome of the battle. But still, not what I expected. Next up is the Dark type Elite Four member Karen. Ghost is weak to Dark, and Karen is notoriously difficult, so like a priest dealing with a demonic possession, we'll have to exercise caution. Her Dark type Pokemon resist Shadow Ball and are immune to Psybeam, so my options are pretty limited. And Swift just isn't going to cut the mustard in terms of raw power, so I replace it with Return. I only kept Swift for so long because I wanted a contingency plan for Koga's evasion strategy. And would you look at that? As soon as I get rid of Swift, I have to deal with Scumbreon's Sand Attack. That's awesome! Even with Return, it takes multiple hits to tank the Umbreon, and we take a Confuse Ray for our troubles. Besides that though, and in spite of that accuracy drop, we still manage to breeze through Karen's team like a capricious autumnal wind. Alright, I apologize for this part of the script being particularly verbose, loquacious, and even sesquipedalian, but I can't help myself. It's fall, and I keep seeing those little wall hangings with fancy quotes on them everywhere in the windows of the little shops downtown. It's like the little shop of more words. Okay, now that joke was absolutely a stretch, but I just wanted a good reason to say, "Feed me, Seymour." Now it's time for the champion battle with the last member, Lance the Dragon Master. I heal up Misdreavus with a full restore and head straight into the battle. It becomes quickly apparent that we are not ready, not even close. Gyarados isn't much trouble, but the Dragonite are more trouble than they are worth. We get paralyzed and take multiple strong attacks, and we just don't have the damage output we need to win. And after cruising through the Elite Four, it's hard for me to admit that we're stuck and that something has to change. But just like making eye holes for a cheap ghost costume, it's time to cut the sheet. And I try again, and this time I've replaced Return with Thunder. Wait a minute, when did I get Thunder? Well, before I entered the Elite Four's chambers, I exchanged a crap ton of coins at the game corner for the Thunder TM. I purposefully let Gyarados set up Rain Dance so that our Thunder becomes 100% accurate, and then I rain down Thunder from the sky like Zeus himself. Even with Thunder though, still can't win, yay! By the time I get to Aerodactyl, I'm usually paralyzed and Rain Dance has expired. Even if we don't miss Thunders outside of the rain, I usually get knocked out by the final Dragonite, if not the Charizard before it. And you might be saying, "Duh, why don't you just level up?" Yeah, I'll get on that right away. It takes 10 extra levels before this battle becomes consistent. I'm still using Thunder, but this time I'm able to almost 1-hit KO the Dragonite with Shadow Ball. I say almost because I have to use Confuse Ray to get the additional chip damage necessary to make Shadow Ball a 1-hit KO, while also reducing the probability that we take a Thunder Wave paralysis. And I still had to reset this battle many times due to missing multiple Thunders against the Aerodactyl and Charizard, but once they go down, all it takes are a pair of Shadow Balls to dunk on Lance's final Dragonite. And with Lance defeated, we have become the champion of the Pokemon League, but you know the run isn't over yet. I'm always going to consider beating the final trainer Red as the boss of this run, unless of course a Pokemon is just impossibly bad. And Misdreavus isn't bad per se, but it has taken a ton of time to get to this point. I mean, just look at that in-game time at the Hall of Fame. Wow, and we've still got more to go. So, I set sail upon the SS Aqua to head over to Kanto to take on their 8 gym leaders to acquire all 16 badges and earn the right to challenge Red atop Mount Silver. And the first 7 gym leaders were not much trouble at all, so now it's time to take on the final Kanto gym leader, Blue. Considering the time we've had with Misdreavus thus far, I really expected this battle to be heinously difficult. Quite the opposite in practice though. I won this battle on the very first try and it wasn't even really that hard. Misdreavus has really great coverage for Blue's entire team, and in fact, the most damage we take is from Rhydon's Sandstorm, chipping us for a little bit each turn. I'm surprised to say that I thought we'd really struggle, but it turns out Blue didn't stand a ghost of a chance. With all 16 badges in hand, it's time to take on the final trainer Red atop Mount Silver. We're at level 78, which is pretty on par with all of his Pokemon. He leads off with a Pikachu, which is easy pickings, but then there's the Snorlax. It doesn't actually have an attack that can hit Misdreavus, but it does have Amnesia. Amnesia raises Snorlax's special defense by 2 stages, so with 1 Amnesia, our special attacks do half as much damage. And unfortunately, we only have special attacks, so I really can't hit Snorlax, especially when it just rests off what little damage we do. Like casting a curse, this spells disaster. Thankfully, I've got just the thing to solve this problem. A return to form, you might say. And by that I mean return. Yeah, you might have noticed earlier in the run that I had 2 copies of Return in the TM pocket of the bag, and that's because you can get more than 1 TM for Return from the nice lady in the Goldenrod City department store. You just have to come back on a different Sunday with a high happiness Pokemon. So that's what I did. And with the power of Return, which is of course a physical attack, Misdreavus bypasses the amnesia issue and chunks Snorlax to knock it out in just a few hits. And that was way easier than before, even with Snorlax repeatedly using Rest. After the Snorlax, Misdreavus has such great coverage for Red's team that we can hit each of the rest of his Pokemon for super effective damage. His Blastoise is even kind enough to set up Rain Dance for us, just to make our Thunder 100% accurate. And considering all the time that I've already spent in this run, I am so relieved that I was able to beat Red without having to grind for extra levels, because grinding is super boring, and after all, ghouls just want to have fun. And with that, the challenge is over! Going into this, people kept telling me that Misdreavus was bad, and I believed them, but it turned out to be much stronger than I expected. Then again, I am a bit of a skeptic, and you know what they say when it comes to spirits and the like. Seeing is believing. It's okay though if you don't believe in the supernatural. When it comes to ghosts, there is no such thing as a wrong opinion, but there is a right one. As always, I want to thank you for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a lot of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can find the rest of my Pokemon Challenge videos if you want to check those out as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want early access to these videos and to have your name listed in the credits, consider becoming a member or joining on Patreon. And let me know in the comments what other Pokemon you want to see, and I'll probably do it. Next week is Halloween, so I'm gonna finish things up by doing a couples costume challenge. That's right, I'll be beating Pokemon Red using only 1 Nidoran male, while beating Pokemon Yellow using only 1 Nidoran female. That's right, I'm going to beat 2 games at the same time using the same controller inputs. It's honestly the scariest challenge I've ever attempted, so it's just in time for Halloween. Anyways, until next time,